another episode of One Shot, One Quill.
No.
A Sleepy Time.
No.
Fantasy tabletop podcast.
I
Now,
don't
Ben, hear me out. No,
I did not
it's-
approve this.
I'm very
Hear me out.
sleepy.
Hear me out. We're doing
didn't-
2 in a row, and we gotta conserve the energy, man.
You have
Let's
not
just
sent me
dial it back.
a approval request for this intro.
This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Hey, there's actually something very special about this episode.
Is it number 10?
This is number 10, unless we
Ooh.
cut one of the past 3.
I planned on going back and deleting 6 just out of
Yeah,
spite.
I mean, we all hate that one.
Everyone hates that one. I can't
Oh,
remember
no,
what it
that
was.
was the one with Brittany on it, wasn't it?
Oh, no. Oh, hang on. Fuck, I take it back. What was it? The Haggle Rock. Fuck you,
Oh,
Jack.
No, not Haggle Rock.
Hope y'all
It's
enjoyed
done.
it while you had it.
At least cut it when I'm not here.
It's going away in the
At
Disney
least cut
vault.
it when I'm not a part of the next episode.
Well, what would be the point? I can't hurt you if I do it when you're not here.
Jack, we need you to hold the scissors to cut.
No, I don't want to do it. It's my child.
Yeah, this is Big 1-0.
Big 1-0. The only other time we're going to celebrate is when we get the big 1-0-0.
I was actually going to celebrate every episode from now on.
Oh.
Next episode, the big 1-1.
Well, that sounds kind of fun. We could do that. We could make it like
Yeah.
a grand spectacle every time.
At this point, I'm already surprised we got this far, so.
Speaking of getting this far, we've gotten quite far without introducing ourselves. I am Spencer. Over there is my regular co-host, Ben.
Yeah.
And with us again is our guest, Jack. Hit from episodes 2 and 3. Jack, how you doing this
And
week?
9.
Oh, and 9. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be back. I always enjoy coming up with weird, fantastical ideas with you guys. So I'm happy to be back.
I'm just kind of annoyed you guys name dropped 9 because now I have to let it release and I can't delete that one too. Ugh.
Yeah, this is a show. I'm gonna not even let that happen.
I thought the banter was going to go longer. Ben,
No.
what do we do on this show?
This is a show in which we brainstorm a tabletop RPG one-shot. A lot of the times it's fantasy, sometimes it's not. We take a prompt that's listener submitted and 2 items that are listener submitted, and then we randomly select them. We squish them all together, and out comes something that we hope is a good starting point for you to throw monsters and dungeons and puzzles into to create a one-shot.
Ben, I'm going to put that in easily your top 10 intros of all time.
I think it was my top number 1 intro.
It was excellent.
It definitely had the least amount of punctuation marks on
I
it.
actually know what this podcast is about now.
Now that we're 10 episodes in, I've finally solidified what this podcast is about.
Ben, do you want to go ahead and roll me one of those many-sided die, the regular
Yeah.
D14 from your bag of dice there,
Mm-hmm.
and get us a premise.
Now, Spencer,
Do
how,
not mix it up with the D13 or the D15.
Spencer, how would you like a 12 on that one?
A 12 on our D14 translates to a pack of wild dogs which follow the PCs for a while. In the morning, a puppy with unusual markings is found snuggling up to one of the PCs.
Well, that's just precious.
I mean, it's got to start with the puppy. Like, the wild dogs is your background information that you give the players, and then
Oh, certainly.
the puppy showing up is the start of the one-shot.
I mean, if you gave me any agency over the scenario of a pack of wild dogs is following you, I think the vast majority of my characters would eat one of the dogs, and that just really throws this whole plot away.
You do play a lot of characters that want to eat canines, and I've meant
Yeah.
to talk to you about this, but
Yeah, it's not
It
even
never
specifically.
feels like overlap to me because, like, for some of them it's their bond, and for some of them it's their flaw.
Other times they're just neutral on the whole thing and they just do it anyway.
Sometimes it's my alignment too. It's like I'm a lawful dog eater.
I'll do it if it's offered to me. Meanwhile, it's chaotic and you're just eating it up.
I socially eat dogs. Like, I'm not addicted to the concept, but
look, I've never ate dogs when I'm alone. I only eat dogs when I'm with people. And that's the issue. They don't like it.
look, I'll go out and eat dogs with friends. But like, have you ever seen a dude eating a dog alone? It's the saddest thing ever. Waiter, dog for one, please. Like, oh fuck, why didn't you just order out?
I'd be more disturbed if it was a group.
Hey, a group of people
Well, this is one of the
eating a
worst
dog.
bits we've ever had. Ben, can you roll me a D26?
2 is what we got.
2. Okay. A mirror which shows a character as a different race or gender. The longer they stare into it, the more they physically exhibit the traits of that reflection. Shattering the mirror reverts the changes, but unleashes a doppelganger of the character. Upon full transformation, the doppelganger actually swaps consciousness with the character, who is now trapped behind the mirror instead. Okay, so this is like somewhat of a picture Dorian Gray, where it seems like there's a changeling entity behind the mirror that is swapping its features with yours over time until it eventually fully takes you over, if you shatter the mirror.
I have to assume that the dog is a person who looked into this. That makes the most sense to me, unless we get another magic item. The dog is some, maybe someone from the player's past or something that looked into this mirror for too long and got turned into a little puppy. Oh,
I like that idea. Jack, did I interpret your prompt here correctly, this item that you got going?
Oh, absolutely. But I also like the idea of, instead of like making it a non-binary, like gender switching mirror, like maybe the party is seeing it like a reflection of just a dog, and they're like, oh, that's a cute dog in this mirror, and the more they stare at it, the more they exhibit dog like symptoms where they start getting like tufts of hair. Like, I think this mirror could work for any sort of species. So, if we need to roll with people getting turned into dogs, we can roll with that too.
So it sounds like a chupacabra thing lives inside this mirror, and the longer you look at it, the more your features start to resemble it. And then if you go all out and break the mirror, hurrah, the chupacabra is free or something.
I'm sorry, is that what a chupacabra does?
A weird dog with markings is what it looks like. I mean, I'm just... Look... I just calls him like I see them.
Actually, I like that. It's some weird dog that's in the mirror. The more you look at that weird dog with these weird markings, the more you turn into a dog. And then eventually, if you break the mirror, you have to fight the weird dog with the markings. And then if you kill it, I guess people revert back to...
Yeah, well...
You know what might help is if we had a second magic item that we could incorporate.
That would also help quite a bit. I'm just imagining... I can't imagine a magic mirror just making more things to suck the blood of goats. So yeah, let's get another magic item here.
I'm only going on what it looks like. A strange puppy with markings on it just sounds like a dog with mange to me, but like... Listen, tattoo mange. I don't fucking know. I was
picturing it what was that game on the Wii? Okami?
Yeah, Okami.
Yeah, it's like a dog with weird Illidan tattoos, but in its fur.
You lost me. I'm just thinking of Pokemon Ranch.
23 is our other magic item.
Don't know why we didn't want to go down that rich vein. 23 is the Void Hammer. This hammer... by the way, this one actually came from a user-submitted source. I don't know why I said that like Jack doesn't exist. This one came from a member of the audience, though. Thank you, Andy, for this one. The Void Hammer. This hammer is a two-handed martial hammer that can absorb and assume the magical properties of another weapon while destroying it. It cannot hold the magical properties of more than one weapon at a time, so no getting two magical sword abilities in one. But... if one magical sword had two magical properties, then it could suck them both down. The magical properties are permanently affixed to the Void Hammer or until another weapon's abilities are absorbed.
Are puppies weapons?
Maybe the Void Hammer is
Jack,
the thing.
We cannot talk over the fact that Jack did just suggest, what if we crush the dog?
What if it's a weapon?
Cannot be skirted past.
Are familiars
this
not
is why we waited
weapons?
Several episodes to bring you back. I thought we reformed you.
Jack, lead me through this one, please.
I'm just, sometimes you can militarize like animals to fight for you. So by extension, this puppy could be like a weapon. And if this Void Hammer...
so you kill it with the Void Hammer, and what does the Void Hammer get?
It looks like a puppy. Sorry.
There is a rule. There is a rule, I think, in this podcast, where if we bring Jack in for 2 episodes, on the second episode, he will suggest killing something that no one else in the entire world would suggest killing outright.
I only say it because I want to absorb its powers.
I think you say it because you want to kill a puppy. I think you just hate anything that's short and sweet.
What if it could
Jack, I eat dogs, and even that's fucked up for me.
What if the dog can breathe fire? I want my hammer to breathe fire.
We talked about eating dogs for maybe a full 5 minutes, and that is the most fucked up thing said on this show thus far.
Can you imagine, like, the warrior of the group smashes this puppy and it's like, that's weird, my hammer wants to suck the
Jack,
blood of goats.
I can't imagine it because I've played D&D with you.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You're really not. But so we have I think a scenario where we could reasonably contort the wording of the Void Hammer. The Void Hammer crushes weapons by definition. What if it just destroyed magic objects in general and absorbed those properties in whatever way is most fitting? Obviously, it's going to be weird if you're like smashing a fucking pair of eyes of the eagle that give you advantage on perception checks. It's like, this is my hammer. I see good. like it's got a fucking magnifying glass on it or some shit.
It becomes a giant magnifying glass.
I feel like you could reasonably say that a magic weapon would be anything that has magical effects on people other than the user.
This is my hammer of elven kind. You can't see me now.
So I think the hammer is the thing that they have to use to smash the mirror.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely where I was headed. The Void Hammer, we use that to maybe because the shattering of the mirror seems to unleash the doppelganger fully.
It's kind of like a character slider where you're one side of the slide and the mirror is the opposite. And the more you stare into it, the more the mirror resembles your features and the more you resemble what you're seeing in the mirror.
There seems to be two termination points to that. The first, I guess, is if you look at it for long enough, eventually you're going to make the swap. But it also says if you shatter the mirror.
Once you shatter
it reverts the changes, but unleashes the doppelganger.
Yes.
I think
which we've kind of recontextualized to be the monster, but go on, Ben.
I think that the shattering the mirror doesn't revert the changes in this scenario. I think you've got to use the hammer to revert the changes. You've got to smash the mirror with the hammer. The hammer then absorbs the magical properties, and so the hammer has the ability to turn people back into people, I guess.
Yeah, so we've got a person who unfortunately looked into this thing for too long, and like Jack said, maybe in lieu of the doppelganger, and like Ben said, it's the weird dog creature that came out of the mirror. And so somewhere out in, I don't know, the middle of the woods or some ancient temple where this thing was found, there is now a mirror lying on the ground where there's a dude pounded on the other side. Help me, get me out of here. So what is a good hook? Because obviously our conclusion sounds like, oh, we got to use the Void Hammer to undo this kind of curse. Maybe this person's friends have sent someone searching, sent out a search party, and maybe a tracker said like, hey, I've been looking for a missing dude, and I gotta tell you, this little dog has something to do with it.
I'm imagining that scout having markings that resemble exactly what this puppy looks like. Perhaps it was a son of some village elder who was like, he was wanting to make his mark and like become part of the village. He went out into the woods to find something of great worth, and he came back like this little puppy. And the village elder is telling you guys, there have been more and more disappearances and more sightings of these wild dogs coming around the village. Maybe there's some sort of connection between the missing villagers and these dogs.
Yeah.
Can you go and kind of working with the dogs to go through the woods and find this mysterious mirror?
Maybe all
That
of
is
the
awesome.
wild dogs are the missing people. It's just they, I guess, age quickly. So this puppy is the most recent person who has gone missing, or from the most recent person who has gone missing. But the other wild dogs are the people who went missing before this person did.
So it says wild dogs and then puppy with strange markings. Do we want to put like a fun reskin on what these things actually are? Because they seem to be coming from a weird otherworldly place. They could be reskinned hellhounds. They could be blink dogs.
I'm leaning very much towards a weird twist on werewolves. I'm thinking like this mirror is like the Lycanprism, where it's like if you stare into it, you get like it's elvish legend or whatever the origin is you look into it and you get these powers that make you a true primal hunter, like a master of the forest. What the trick is it turns you into like this dog, and the more you stay in this primal state, the more it takes you from a puppy to a wild dog to a wolf to you start going crazy, wanting to go find your humanity that you've lost, and now you're a werewolf. So I'm imagining some like weird werewolf god being behind this mirror.
So like it's an ancient civilization made this. They used it to like help them on hunts. But to make it, they had to trap some sort of nature spirit behind on the other side of the mirror. They were able to transfer themselves back into their normal bodies, but because they're now gone, people are just trapped. Is that kind of what you're going for?
I really like how you said that way more than what I was thinking.
Well, all right.
Perfect.
And so like maybe the ancient culture stared into the mirror as like a rite of passage, like witness your inner hunter in this reflection.
They abused it to the point to where their humanity became trapped within it. Instead of just using it to get a little bit better at hunting, they stared at it too long and just lost themselves completely.
Ooh, I like that. That
became
like,
primal animals.
That they kept taking it too far, and now eventually that ancient civilization is gone and it just left the mirror.
Ancient mirror was used by the ancient tribe, which I'm assuming the now modern tribe has built its foundations around the ruins of the old one, because deep inside the ruins is where you find this mirror. Mm-hmm. This ancient civilization abused the mirror to the point that a lycanthropy pandemic basically spread throughout the whole culture. It immediately fell into ruin. It's one of those kind of Mayan or Inca, like they just all of a sudden disappeared, and they have all these intact ruins.
Yeah, that's a and the deeper you
kind
try
of
to
an
go
origin
in,
story for some lycanthropy in your area.
Absolutely.
And the dogs. So we're touching on how these are not wolves. When I think wild dogs, I picture mangy coyotes, honestly, like really wimpy things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if we want to stick with that, because maybe this mirror kind of achieved what it wanted. It cursed the people that were the nature spirit cursed whatever people were abusing it, but it's been left in there for so long at this point that all the magic it has left in it is creating not full-blown devastating werewolves, but just like these wretched dog things.
Okay.
I like that too. I'm imagining Bloodborne, where it's like they're not like you could tell they're supposed to be werewolves, but their fur is falling out and they're just like disgusting and emaciated, and not at all at the apex, like top of the food chain, like what was supposed to happen. I like the sound of that. And you know,
inside this mirror, the ancient spirit has been gathering up all of the people that, you know, take a guy in, throw a dog out. The dogs may be serving no purpose. At one point they would have been a werewolf pack that devastated the countryside, but now they're really just a gang of mangy dogs. But inside that mirror, he's gathering up this great feast so he can consume all the souls, get enough power that he can make his return to escape the mirror, you know, make his big comeback from his prison. I really like this. Yeah. What angles can we even flesh out at this point?
Where is the Void Hammer?
Yeah, that'd be a good one to touch on. So the culture that we're talking about had, the ancient one anyway, the ancient civilization that abused the mirror, they clearly had the power to trap a spirit in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like something they would also have to have the Void Hammer.
Okay. So maybe it's like a Legend of Zelda temple type thing, where the first room of this temple is the temple with the mirror, or is the room with the mirror. But then if you go deeper and fight your way through monsters down, maybe werewolves, actually, now that I say it, monsters down inside of the temple, you can eventually get to where they were keeping the Void Hammer.
Yes. I love the idea of, here's a little puzzle that kind of hints at what the Void Hammer's supposed to do. Gives you that little video game mini tutorial, so to speak, that helps you think, oh, this is what I use the big Goron hammer for. The chamber where you find the Void Hammer, let's say it was when you walk in, the door behind you engages an arcane lock spell. Since the door has arcane lock, you really just wait and see how long they fucking take stabs at it until they realize, oh, if I hit the arcane lock with the void hammer, it just swallows up the fucking spell. Yeah, just making the fact that it absorbs magic the solution to escape the room could be something.
Yeah, I think that's...
This might be going too far, but I'm imagining these primal, like, unhinged werewolves. Like, obviously they didn't want people breaking this mirror, and they're attuned to, like, these strong, magical, natural powers. And if you slay a werewolf with this hammer, you actually absorb whatever its, like, power was. Just to make more use of this hammer and this temple. So, like, let's imagine, just off the top of my head, a werewolf breathing fire. If you kill this werewolf with
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, but then your hammer could breathe fire too. And if you crush the puppy...
No, it can't come back to this. You are fired.
I think
number 10, it's an episode of firsts.
I think that the hammer has a lot of potential, and it doesn't take very much for the DM to come up with other magical entities in this temple to have fun with this hammer. But at the end of the day, you know, once you're done with this session or campaign, there's something you gotta go smash, and that's kind of like your end game. I like the idea of this kind of being a set piece for this, like, really unique weapon, and it kind of gives a fun spin on the whole werewolf myth as well.
Yeah, we have a few extra minutes compared to a normal episode at this point. Does anyone want to pitch maybe another Voidhammer puzzle / any unique monsters they could fight in here? I'm thinking ancient werewolves. What if we go for like a werewolf mummy hybrid?
I was just thinking back to one of the first episodes I featured in where we talked about mimics, and I'm imagining you smashing a mimic with this void hammer and it becoming a mimic that like swallows things up.
Oh yeah, that the void hammer's damage does like the additional acid damage.
It has like
from a mimic's bite
and like an open maw and like a tongue that lashes out at people.
Oh, that's fun. I like that. That's fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is this nature spirit? Because we never really the spirit in the mirror. What is?
Methinks an archfey.
Okay.
Maybe this doesn't have stats, but I think there are stats for an enemy Eladrin, which is a type of elf that changes appearance by the season. So there's like winter Eladrin, fall Eladrin, and all that. I think you could easily take one of those.
I'm imagining it being like feasting on all of the souls and humanity of this ancient civilization. So I'm imagining like almost like this super powered version of like this strange natural like fey spirit, almost like a Hircine from Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls sort of thing.
Perfect inspiration for this if you want to flesh that character out.
Not like an actual giant werewolf, but like something that is purely like a hunter spirit of sorts.
There's a fiend inspiration that I took from The Witcher 3 for like a horror game I ran a really long time ago. It's a boss that you fight towards the end of the three hags in the bog. What is that thing called?
I know what you're talking about.
It's the beast from Crookback Bog, but what is its name? Is it just called Fiend?
Yeah, I think it might be.
This big old, it's kind of got a werewolf's body, a shaven deer's head with a third eye, and a big rack of antlers, like webbed feet. I mean, that could be a cool aspect of whatever entity this is. And I think that could be, if you want to do it as like a multi-phased boss fight, you've got like its monstrous form and its more civil Eladrin kind of form, or fey, whatever it is.
I like the idea of it. If they're based off of seasons, I like the idea of the Eladrin being winter, just because of kind of the symbolism of it. Like the Eladrin has been all used up. It's at the end of its life, I guess, because of how long it's been in this mirror. And it's bitter. And has no leaves.
I'm also imagining it like putting on the appearance of like this majestic nature spirit, but the more you chip away at it, the more it starts to lose that luster, and you start finding that maybe it was absorbing this humanity to keep up an appearance, and it starts getting darker and more of like a Wendigo, sort of like frantic, like scattered movements and like lashing out at people. I like the idea of like making this monster sort of become more and more unhinged the more you fight it.
if you want a real happy ending, the more damage, like you could have it in stages, and every time you pass, say, like another 20% of its health, you could have one of the consumed spirits fall away from the corpse in a recoverable kind of stasis state that you can then save them once you get out of the fight.
If you want a bad ending, then
you could smash the dog.
At the end, the Eladrin turns into the dog.
Oh,
and you gotta kill the dog.
You know what? It really had to be that, didn't it? Because I like the idea of this being a big front that it's putting on, and once you've really taken all its power away, it's nothing more than a mangy little chupacabra.
Aww.
And
then you can fulfill Jack's dark fantasies and smash it with the hammer.
Yeah, and if you do that, please remember to get the audio, record the audio, and send it to... I'm going to read off Jack's phone number here. It's 636...
666
6666
1-800 I eat dogs. There's a small discrepancy I want to touch on. And this is a brainstorming podcast, so this could be just two separate ideas here, but we were talking about kind of beating the game by smashing. It sounded like beating the story by smashing the mirror with the Void Hammer, but we're also talking about a boss fight with the creature inside the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Do we picture that if you smash the mirror, that ends up becoming a fight with the creature, like that frees it?
I'm imagining it is unleashed from the mirror upon doing that. In fact, I
like that.
I don't think the being even shows its true form until you have the Void Hammer. Like, it knows what's coming next, so it's preparing itself to just fight you face to face instead of trying to steal faces.
Is there a spell that would trap something in an arcane prison? Because my first thought was, well, if you smash the mirror, does the hammer take on the aspect of, like, the banishment spell? And this time, it really does the job? Or, like...
it's like a soul trap from Elder Scrolls, but I don't know if that's a D&D.
Force Cage? Is Force Cage kind of what you're talking about? Force Cage is a mobile, invisible, cube-shaped prison composed of magical force, creating a solid barrier that prevents any matter from passing through it and blocking any spells cast into or out of the area.
7th level. This does sound like some high-end magic.
Any creature that is completely inside the cage's area is trapped.
Okay, this is an idea. So the Void Hammer we have proposed, and I know we're running a little higher on time, but I love this premise. The Void Hammer we have proposed is kind of overpowered, even compared to the one that Andy pitched, which only did weapons. Allowing it to absorb spells is bazonkers, especially when you talk about a 7th level spell like Force Cage. I have a couple ideas for that. Number one, you could do it the way spell scrolls technically work, which is if it's on your spell list and you know how to cast it, but it's at a level higher than you're capable of, you got to roll a sufficient Arcana check to successfully cast it. Otherwise, it may not work. You could take that aspect to the Void Hammer, and since this is a 7th level spell, I'd almost fucking bet you whoever's wielding it is not going to be capable of doing that. You could have them swing the hammer, hit the mirror, hard enough that it's going to rip the magic away, dissolve the Force Cage, but not sufficiently capture Force Cage as a spell for the hammer. It would basically only work as a master dispel magic in that case. Like the hammer wouldn't be able to retain that ability, because if it could, holy shit, you have a god weapon, throw that thing away.
That's a good way to keep it in balance.
You could also, by swinging it at this mirror, which I love the idea of it having Force Cage cast on it, you could have the Void Hammer hit Force Cage and then immediately reconcile that by casting Force Cage around itself, such that the Void Hammer has just effectively become a sword in the stone. You've used it to dissolve the mirror, but that thing's also now boxed in an invisible cage that you will never be able to get through. And then now you also have to fight a fiend. Just a couple different ideas for folks that are, if they want to stick with these characters longer and they don't want to deal with an overpowered weapon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But if you do either of those, then you are a wuss.
Yes, you are. You're a coward and we don't want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't send us your ideas to @DNDpod on Twitter.
Do still send the audio of your party killing the dog to Jack's phone number. And again, that is 636-666.
And do rate us on iTunes. I think we have a finished adventure. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we need a name. So, Jack?
I regret to pass the buck to Jack first.
Well, it's fine. I like the idea. I said it a while back, but Lycanprism, I don't know. It's just fun.
God.
It's just a fun sounding, like, fantasy name. It's simple. It's a werewolf mirror, but like it's got like that nice juicy thesaurus edge to it.
It's great. It's especially great because it's not what I thought you were going to say, which was magic dog versus hydraulic press.
See, I was going to say Whack-a-pup.
Lycanprism Whack-a-pup sounds like our winner. Episode 10, it's got to have a colon name. Thank you again for listening. Rate and review us on iTunes. Ben, you can tell the fine folks how to send us more suggestions. What's that tweet handle?
I'm going to just first off say, remember to share us with your friends. We're now 10 episodes in, and we appreciate all of you that have done so already, because I don't think we'd have anyone if we were relying on our own friends. And that's a dig on all of them. So,
happy to be here.
If you want to send us suggestions of items or prompts, you can head over to Twitter, and our Twitter handle is @DNDpod. That's D-N, the letter N, D-P-O-D.
Oh my God. Such growth. We didn't establish a deep explanation on how to spell pod. It was just P-O-D.
P-O-D.
Ben, we're growing.
It's been long enough that I think they get it at this point.
I hope.
Our theme song is Ella Tavera del Goulier by Morgan LeBard. I'm not even going to do my normal joke on that one. Listen to the rest of his music, though, I guess.
Yeah. His estate needs it. R.I.P. Jack, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I actually have another podcast with you, Spencer. It's called Blunderphonics. It's a history, but mostly more of a comedy-centric podcast about the troubled productions of music albums. I know, who cares about all that historical stuff? I
thought I was going to have to read for it.
No, it's going to be a bunch of laughs. We talk about artists who went into the studio expecting to make a masterpiece, and through no fault of their own, or sometimes through an entire fault of their own, they end up making something cursed through whether or not their studio's being flooded by ghosts and actual water, to they're just a bunch of assholes who take 10 years to record a hard rock album. There are a ton of great albums and a ton of terrible albums I make Spencer sit through and discuss
One
with
time
me.
a guy shoved his, I believe it shoved his trumpet player into a literal barrel.
Yeah, we talk about...
I think that was something, threw him down the stairs.
They form like a commune, and like this guy just rules over their every aspect of lives. It's really funny. It's really funny to talk about.
Yeah, the tragedy is hilarious on that show because it happened so long ago.
These assaults sound really hilarious, I gotta be honest.
Oh my God. Jack, tell them about the black metal episode. That was a riot.
Is there anything you'd like to plug, Spencer?
Well, I have another podcast called The Cock and Bull. It is a comedy history podcast, not unlike what Jack's described here. No book reading required. You could have flunked out of high school and you might enjoy this podcast.
I did.
In fact, that's my new target audience. My brother and I go over fun. Typically, it's medical history. A lot of psychologists and self-experimenters throughout history, but we go over all sorts of shit. We've had a lot of weird European religious history lately. Go check that out. Links to our other shows are in the description. Ben, do you have a plug? I mean, normally we don't talk to each other about this.
I don't really, but looking back, I think that my intro and outro were too competent. So I've got to ask, is it too late to restart this one?
Let's do it. Welcome back to another episode of One Shot, One Quill.
Oh, no, that was supposed to be the end. But we do have to restart it.